Hello, everyone. I'm Shaquita Graham here, founder of AtechCodeWeb.com. I'm here with my wonderful friend, Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses of SuccessfulBlackWoman.com. And we have the topic of the day is Miss Alabama. She had a powerful reaction to the executions that have been taking place in the Black community of Black men. And she took to Facebook to share how she felt. And as a result of her sharing her honest feelings and, what most people would predict her, would be natural feelings, her sadness and different things like that, she has been suspended. So let me just show you the article and a little bit of the video here. I'm going to try to cut to it.
Hi, Facebook. I'm just reaching out to everybody because I'm just leaving church, and I prayed a lot about everything that's happened this week, and I can't stop replaying the image of these men being killed in my mind, and my heart weeps. But I think more than anything, I'm dealing with a bit of guilt because I don't feel sad for the officers that lost their lives, and I know that that's really not my heart. I value human life, and I want to feel sad for them, but I can't help but feeling like the shooter was a martyr. And I know it's not the right way to feel because nobody deserves to lose their lives. And I know that those police officers had families and people who loved them and that they didn't deserve to die. But I'm so torn up in my heart about seeing these men, these Black men being gunned down in our community that I can't help. I can't help but feel like I wasn't surprised by what the shooter did to those cops.
All right. Okay. And so this is the article, Ex-Miss Alabama suspended from TV gig for Dallas sniper comments. So, and her name is Kaylin Chapman James. She had a job with a Florida TV station who, basically came out and said they didn't appreciate her comments, or her comments were this or that. The same old. So let's just get to it. Norma, what did you think?
Just watching that again just now, I'm aware of the fact that as she's crying like that, one of the things she's reacting to is how what is happening is changing her. And she says, I'm feeling so guilty because I know I shouldn't feel this, but I'm feeling this. And it reminds me of there's one of my favorite movies, I'm not sure if you've seen it, is a movie called Sarafina, which was basically about the apartheid struggle in South Africa in the 90s, just before, and I know, isn't it sad, 90s? It was in the 90s, and Black people were still oppressed in South Africa. But anyway, and in the movie, the main character is talking about, she talked to Nelson Mandela as though he was like her father or like God or something. She had this constant ongoing communication with him. And one of the things that she said is like, look at what they're doing to us. And she wasn't talking about only being killed on the street. She meant that being traumatized by that and having that happen to you so much and being exposed to it actually starts to change who you are as a person. And then she says, I just want to be numb. She says, just make me numb. I just want to be numb. And I think that's what that young lady is going through as well. She's having this internal dialogue where she thinks when people get killed, I'm supposed to feel some kind of empathy, sympathy, but I'm not feeling it. And the reason why I'm not feeling it is because this is also happening, and it's starting to change who she is.
Yeah. My thing is this, it just seems real natural to me. I mean, of course, the backlash from the media, the backlash from the white community is expected, because I never see anybody white in the media crying over, somebody like Alton Sterling just getting shot point blank in his chest, the two police officers taking turns shooting him. Another man we see dying on camera. I don't see anybody coming out outraged about that like they did with the gorilla. So I think that what we have to be careful of, my takeaway is we have to be so careful in the Black community that we don't let people tell us how to feel about our people being murdered and executed, and tell us who we should appreciate, who we should hate, who we should vilify, how we should feel about anybody doing anything. It's like we have so many directions we have to follow as far as what are we allowed to say? What are we allowed to feel? What are we allowed to think? It's like, and then on top of that, in the midst of being executed, it's like people are telling us that, hey, I want you to be quiet in line as we lead you to the gas chamber. No talking, no crying, no being sad. If anything, show empathy towards the people who are killing you.
I hear what you're saying, and I, for the most part, agree with you. But I want to share another experience that I had some years ago, and this was in 2012, 2013, when Trayvon Martin got killed. And for those, I can't imagine that anybody doesn't remember, but he was killed by George Zimmerman, who stalked him, interrogated him, and then killed him. And what I remember is that when this happened, I thought it was obvious that if a young boy is minding his own business and an older white male or white-ish male follows him, kills him, it's obvious that this man should go to jail for doing that. I thought that was obvious.
Yeah, it is obvious.
And then when the verdict came out, and George Zimmerman was exonerated, I may have shared this before. I literally, and no jokes, guys, I literally spent 2 days in bed, weeping, crying, just really, really crying. I could not, I just couldn't believe it, So even when she's crying like that, I get it. You just have this emotional experience of, oh my God. It has that feeling of like a woman who is being pursued by this charming, wonderful man, and it seems like everything is great. And then one day he bashes her face in. It's just kind of, it's hard to, because you thought that you had a life, you thought you had rights, you thought you had all these things, and then one day it hits you. Yeah, it hits you that, oh no, what you had going there was a fantasy, and here's the reality, and it's not pretty. That's what I mean when I talk about the man bashing your face.
Right. Okay.
It's like it's a very drastic, impactful thing, and I had that experience of feeling like, wait a minute, okay, wait, this is supposed to be the free world, the land of milk and honey, and all this other stuff. And obviously, in the past, I've seen symptoms of racism and so on, and I just thought, okay, it is what it is. But it didn't hit me as hard as when the Trayvon Martin verdict came down. That's when it really hit me. And I think for this young woman, I think that's what she may be experiencing. It's that almost disillusionment, and then also realizing that it is what it is.
Exactly. And I am happy for her because you're sleepwalking in the middle of a landmine. You're sleepwalking in the middle of a field full of landmines. And if you don't wake up, you are, going to suffer the consequences. And that's the thing, we in the Black community, I think you're going to touch on this, she can't even express the fact that she's heard about these Black men being killed, and that maybe somebody retaliating against the police, of the abuse of people who are pretending to be police, who are not following police protocol. There are police officers that do the right thing, and then there's police officers who have taken on that title for a purpose of white supremacy.
Yeah, they're thugs.
Right. The FBI has documented this, and nobody wants to admit it. So therefore, we're being left vulnerable in the Black community. So her once she gets past that initial shock, that is where the movement begins, because if we don't take action and if we don't speak out, then how are we to stop our annihilation? We basically have to submit to people who we know may be, I mean, we have a strong chance of these people being, you know, white supremacists in a uniform. Like, if somebody comes to my door and they want to kill me and they have on a police uniform, am I supposed to just obey them because they say they're a police officer and let them kill me? You know, people talk about all of this other crime that's happening, you know, the crime that we know that happens, you know, people kill people in their own community that they're close to. So black people do kill black people. But the bottom line is, if somebody's coming to kill me, then I have a right to defend myself. A lot of times I know I have an enemy, so I'm protecting myself against them. But as the black community, we're being told, no, police are good. They are not your enemy. While we're sitting here watching videos telling us otherwise, and we're not supposed to say anything about it. So again, you know, that feeds into probably what you're going to talk about, or you mentioned to me, having our own institutions, because now this young woman is being, you know, her livelihood or finances are being jeopardized because she said some things that are true and normal and natural.
Right. And that's, you know, kind of what we were leading into, as she was having this honest reaction on this video. And then you and I saw a clip of where she was on CNN, and she was being interviewed. And she did a good job answering the questions, but my sense was, to some degree, she kind of backed away from what she originally said. And then learning more about her and realizing that she works for this TV station, and again, like you said, her livelihood is probably to some degree dependent on an institution which is probably run to some degree by some people who don't care about what she cares about. So now she has to kind of backtrack. She has to kind of reword what she says because she's trying to protect her job. And the thing about it is, I know that there's people out there who just say, you know, forget it, money's not everything and all this other thing, but those people are not going to pay her rent and all her other bills. So I do, to some extent, understand why she has to kind of rethink what she said, that on one hand. But then on the other hand, I really think that that goes to speak to why it's important for people to have multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income. It gets to a point where when one of them is being threatened and you have to choose between this stream of income and speaking the truth, feeling what you feel and saying what you feel, and it's threatening one stream and you have multiple, then you're saying, so be it. I don't care. Take it away. I would rather stand and tell the truth. And that's what's starting to really emerge as a very, very, very important thing. I've been saying it for years, but it's becoming more evident now. There comes a point where you have to decide that my truth counts, and I shouldn't have to shut down my voice and my feelings and my perspective because somebody's going to take away a paycheck.
Right. I mean, and so the takeaway for me is we need to be building. We need to be getting prepared, because we're not talking about just telling the truth about preferences or what you like or your lifestyle. We're talking about life and death truths right now. We need people to speak up when we see people being killed and nobody is taking the task for it over and over and over again. And there's no end in sight. So when do we get a chance to stand up? We have to stand up. We have to take action. We have to speak. And so therefore, we have to prepare for that backlash. We have to prepare for the different wars that we're dealing with. So, you know, all I can say is, you know, again, that's why I have the platform ateco.com, where you can figure out ways to get income, start businesses in technology. That's what I do. And Noma, you have successfulblackwoman.com, where you give tips on business and things like that. So I think that's, you know, what would you say as the last words?
You know, you kind of just said it. I think that we have to build in such a way that we don't feel our livelihood is not threatened by telling the truth. That's really the most simple way that I can put it. You have to build your life in such a way that you can be truthful without it threatening your livelihood. And by livelihood, I mean your paycheck, the ability to feed yourself and your family. because the truth is we can't control the other way that our livelihood is threatened.
And then how do we protect those who can risk or who do take the risk? Because you see people like Darren Wilson raising, you know, hundreds of millions and millions of dollars, Zimmerman being given money by, you know, white people, white supremacists. It seems like some of those people who were saying they're non-racist had to be contributing to, you know, somebody like Darren Wilson making money. How do we fund people who can get out here and say those things? And there are people who can't afford to take the risk. So that I had to throw that in. But yes, thank you guys for viewing. And Noma, did you want to say anything else?
No, I was actually supporting what you're saying. I can't remember. Yes, I do remember her name. Her name is Issa Rae. Just last week when I think it was the Alton Sterling. It's really honestly sad that you can't even keep up with who got shot when, but it was Alton Sterling that got shot, and it was before we found out about the young man who got shot the next day. She started raising money. She immediately hopped on and started raising money for him. And I would say that we should do the same thing for people who speak out, where they feel like they have a cushion to fall back on. They feel like we have their back. And it's not just a feeling, we actually do have their back.
Yeah, because the judge and the Dylan Roof thing, and I know we're going to wrap up, but this stuff is so deep, and that's why we have marriedwomensbusiness.com. But the judge in the Dylan Roof case said that we need to feel sorry for Dylan Roof's parents. Well, who feels sorry for Michael Johnson's parents?
Right.
You know, who's raising money for them? You know, so again, thank you guys for viewing. We're going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Noma.
Thank you, Shaquita.
All right.